Welcome to the Aussie Game podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. The Matildas have fallen at the final hurdle, losing to Japan in the Asian Cup final. It was the best the Matildas have played in the entire tournament, but despite a mammoth effort, they weren't able to overturn a 17th minute wonder strike from Japan. The final was played in front of over 74,000 in the stadium and millions around Australia, and the Matildas can be very proud of their performance despite the defeat, with attention now turning to next year's World Cup. Elsewhere, we've seen the most unlikely of hat-tricks in Austria, a couple of debut goals in the MLS, twists and turns in the A-League finals race, your questions, and we'll finish with our team of the week. Mopper, how are you feeling after the Matildas' performance last night?
Oh, it was breathtaking, and they gave everything last night. They probably lacked a little bit of composure. Japan, well, they've beaten us 3 times 1-0 now in Asian Cup finals. They won 2014 with another spectacular goal in the 28th minute and beating us 1-0. And then 2018, they scored a late goal and beat us 1-0 as well. And they've done it 3 times to show their quality through the tournament and in the game. But they had backs to the wall in the second half. Australia really showed their dominance to the Matildas, and it was a very brave and creative performance. And so, like you said, some of our best football. The crowd weren't disappointed. Both teams were very respectful towards each other. I thought the atmosphere and the crowd were fantastic. And I think how they both acknowledged where both countries are at is a tribute to both nations as they push forward in the women's game. Some interesting points too. Obviously, we'll talk about a bit later. Japan went professional with their women back in 2021 with a 50-year plan, and it's certainly unraveling, and it's something that definitely a benchmark that we can follow. But the Matildas, a lot of absolutely outstanding results too for them, and a lot of positives to talk about through the crowd, the TV audience, and obviously the way that this team has obviously captured a nation over the last Asia Cup and probably the last 10 years as this game continues to grow as we can see it unfold in front of our eyes. So I think the future is bright. It was just heartbreaking, I think, for the custodians that were in the 2014, 2018, and now 2026. There was a couple of those players there, Russo, Catley, Kerr, Foord, they've all been there and just fallen. I think that's the emotions just showed last night how much it really hurt.
Definitely in a few of those post-match interviews, you could see the girls holding back tears whenever they could, and it's completely understandable. I think each of us Matildas fans sitting on their edge of our seats were probably feeling it, and could only imagine what they were feeling, having gone through all of that and all the personal journeys that they've been on. Take us inside the stadium, mate. What was it like? What was the atmosphere? I suppose a lot of people turned up to the stadium hopeful, but not expectant, given the opposition we were coming up against. But really from the start, Australia were on the front foot a lot of the game, and particularly that last half of the second half was all Australia. Japan even going to a back 5 in defence, which was a huge mark of respect for the pressure that the Matildas were putting on them. And I'm sure that all those 74,000 fans just wanted to suck that ball into the net and get us into extra time, or maybe even jag a winner.
Yeah, it wasn't just about last night either. It was about today. The Matildas were out again in Sydney, obviously farewelling, and seeing the fans. It's something they do extremely well, and it's why they're so popular. And you would have seen the absolute sea of yellow last night. The crowd built early. They filled the stadium in what's been a record-breaking tournament, and Australia's put on another great show, haven't they? Across the 3 states, and Sydney to finish it off in the final. It was a tribute to both teams who've played probably the Matildas a more tournament football scenario, and Japan's really just from the start, they've just gone red hot and they just haven't stopped. And it's the first time they've probably been under pressure all tournament, which is credit to the Matildas because it wasn't just about whether we can compete. They matched it and then some. It was just those small moments like we all say in these finals. the deciding factors, and there's so small margins, and hence the heartbreak at the end. But I think inside the stadium, I think everyone was just fantastic. The pre-game entertainment, the halftime entertainment, the way they set up, the starting and closing ceremony should be. And there was a lot. I must say there was a fair few people that stayed behind as well, which is tribute. Even though Japan had won, there's a lot of people that still stayed behind, and I thought that beautiful line that Japan did and the Matildas for each other was just a true acknowledgement of how professional and what recognition they have and respect they have for both countries.
Yeah, to see the Matildas when they were getting that guard of honor, if you like, from Japan going up to receive their runners-up medals, and even like some of the Matildas having smiles on their faces, and through all that heartbreak, just from that amazing show of respect from Japan. So that was an amazing scene to see post-match. Let's go back to the start, mate. Changes for the Matildas from their semi-final win over China. So Winona Heatley came in for Claire Hunt. That was the only change from the starting lineup. And look, at the first, probably 15 minutes or so, Australia really came out of the blocks really quickly, and a few chances fell to Kerr and to Foord, and really, if those had gone in the back of the net, things might have been quite different. But they were certainly on the front foot right from the start, weren't they?
Yeah, and I texted you in the first minute. I said the football button is been on and it's been pressed, and it was great to see. We were very measured in our approach and really forced Japan on the back foot early. Again, that's small margins that we talked about. Rowan Heatley coming in, I think a little bit of more agility than probably Claire Hunt. The movement of Japan's very strong, but it's a great luxury to have both of these central defenders as they emerge through the Matildas ranks now. They're both at a good age and will be around for a lot longer too, which is fantastic. And obviously we've got Charlie Rule and so much talent coming through there. So I think it was a mark of respect for both girls. But Heatley, the sole reason why Joe said Heatley was in because he wanted more passing from the back through transition. He wanted that more direct. He wanted it quicker, and he got that from Mona Heatley. She's a very good passer of the football, and she's been utilised in a number of positions in six and central defence. So that was the reason given. The rest was unchanged, and they all put in a performance, didn't they? And it was just that small moment, as we'll talk about, that quality finish from Japan that ended up being the deciding factor in so early on the game.
Yeah, Joe didn't take your advice of a back five, mate, but decided to go for his 4-2-3-1. But interesting, definitely in the first 25 minutes or so, they're defending in a 4-3-1-2, which is a bit of a different shape. But you could see kind of Fiala trying to deny the Sixers the ball there in the Japanese midfield, and then just that different structure. Katrina Gorry was definitely deeper and for that first 25 minutes or so. And then they kind of shifted. Then they went more back to their 4-2-3-1 with Gorry pressing up a bit higher. And that was probably from that point, obviously they were down 1-0 at that point, but they were trying to put a bit more pressure on Japan. And then you could see that, and again, like Caitlin Foord, a few chances kind of fell to her. She a lot of it she made herself. She's putting the pressure on the keeper, and again, like we probably had some of the better chances, particularly in the first half, where it could have been a bit more ruthless. Yeah, the game really could have been closer from that point.
Yeah, and it hurt Caitlin Foord the chances that were given up, and she knew it at the end. This such an elite level, isn't it? And such fine margins. A professional that has played all her career in big moments, and unfortunately, it didn't come off last night. And I think she'd be probably wake up this morning the hardest hit out of all of them. Personally, taking the responsibility on herself last night, but I think it's football, Caitlin, and you'll bounce back. And you've produced many great performances for the Matildas that have put us in many moments, and including your semi-final performance, which I thought was one of the best. So, look, it would have been hard to take. These are professionals. They are at the elite level and demand the best from themselves. So it's always going to be hard and difficult when it doesn't pay off.
The goal from Japan, a moment of class from them. And I think the Matildas just switched off for half a second, didn't they? And that's kind of all it takes in these big moments. But yeah, she's turned on the edge of the box and a brilliant strike when you look at back and from any angle you look at it, but particularly the one from behind the goal where you can see Mackenzie Arnold maybe has a chance, and then it just swerves away into that top corner, and very little that Mackenzie Arnold could have done. And yeah, obviously on the back foot from that moment. But yeah, going into the second half, mate, yeah, completely dominant, weren't we? Particularly that back end. And, Haley Razzo has that chance that's blocked, and Ben Egmont has that one late in the stoppage time where the Japanese player gets the header on it as well. But yeah, we absolutely peppered the goal of Japan. Even Alanna Kennedy late in stoppage time had that header, went a bit close to the keeper. But geez, we put Japan under a whole lot of pressure, didn't we?
Yeah, we wanted it so much. The composure probably couldn't settle ourselves, and I think it was a small 1%er. I had to pull out the phone and actually watch the replay of it to find how she schemed for that space. But you watched the 1 minute or 30 seconds before where she was dropping in and out and around and scheming for that space. It's just Japan's ability to find feet and fluent football that found her in this little pocket, which she created, mind you, and just that one touch turn bang. Kennedy was just on the right hand side. Kenny Cross is just on the left. It was half a yard, but that's all they need. And she just created the most brilliant moment and fitting goal, which ended up being the winner. It definitely changed the complex of the game. We had to come out, but we come out well, didn't we? Like, especially in that second half from the get-go, and poured on the pressure. I think the only tactical opportunity we missed was we probably needed a second striker, a Sayer or a Heyman. With that amount of ball going into the box, we needed that second striker for height, and I think it would have caused a little bit more trouble. I think that's probably an opportunity missed, but again, we can't say that now. It's unfolded, but I thought a second striker or a target person could have put more pressure on Japan in that box. We did push Kennedy forward late into that box, but I thought if you had another one running in there, I thought we could have caused them even more trouble. But in the end, we just couldn't compose ourselves to find that back of the net, and it just become undone us in the end. We created more shots. We had more shots on target. We had more possession, and it just goes to show the respect that everybody had for Japan before. When Matildas bring their best, they're absolutely capable, and they've just got to try to find that last little bit to put it all together. And I think that's what Matildas fans can be excited about in the next 15 months, with more time under Joe, more high-level football is what we need. The high level football we test ourselves under, that's when the big moments might come our way. So that's our challenge. And it's not just a challenge at the top level, it's all the way through, because we really need to expose every age level. So when we get to these moments, we can absolutely take full advantage of it. But credit to both sides. I thought they were both outstanding, and credit for Australian football for hosting another great tournament. It's been absolutely fantastic to have a World Cup and an Asia Cup and see the amount of people come out and set records and break records, and through attendance, audience, and just general public. The next big thing now is to capitalise on this, and we've been talking about it for a while. Like I said in the intro, Japan went professional in 2021. It's time for us to do this off the back of this, not next month, not next year, now, so we can get the ball rolling and have our own strategic plan to get that elite level at all levels. And once we do that, then we'll be better off.
Yeah, well said, mate. And yeah, obviously, that's on the back of the PFA report that came out earlier this year, I believe it was, calling on all parties concerned in Australian football to get together and to make the A-League women's competition professional. I think it would take it from strength to strength. And you see that you look at all of those Matildas players, can't think of any off the top of my head that haven't come through the A-League women's system, and to make it fully professional, it's just going to advance it so far. So let's hope that that's the case, and let's hope that happens. As you said, let's hope it happens now and not delayed further and further down the road. Let's call out Alanna Kennedy. She was named MVP of the tournament for her fantastic effort. So well done to Alanna Kennedy. She was certainly a revelation in that six with some crucial goals throughout the tournament, and just her general play was fantastic as well. So well done to Alanna Kennedy for that fantastic achievement. Just wanted to get your opinion, Mopper, on the tournament as a whole for the Matildas. They started pretty slow through the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. It was very much a case of just getting the job done, and they were at their best, I thought anyway, in the final. So they built in it as you would. You want to peak in the final of the tournament, but just couldn't get it across the line. But what do you make of the tournament? This is obviously Montemero's first major tournament as the Matildas coach. I think it was a good call out that you made there before. He's only been in the job 10, 11 months, only had these players for a limited amount of time to get his plans across to them. So I think building into the World Cup for next year, let's hope that he can do a bit more of that.
Yeah, I think, look, before I do that one, I'll just shout out to Leah Blaney, who was probably the assistant coach for Japan, who's an Australian, who's been capped for the Matildas 16 times. And she was the under-20 Australia Matildas coach from 2019 2024 before joining Japan. So shout out to her and her success. We've seen FIFA during the week explain that then they need more women coaches, and they need to get that fixed immediately because that's what they want to see. But here we go in the pipeline. We already have some fantastic staff for the Matildas now working with Joe, and we've also got Leah Blaney, who was successful last night as an assistant coach for Japan. So shout out to Leah, fantastic tournament and making headways obviously in Japan as assistant coach. So well done and great experience for her. In regards to the tournament, look, the opportunity, I think let's go to the bigger scale first, and I think FIFA need to sort out their dates with the club and country international football. For the date was missed by FIFA, just with their clubs going back. Obviously, they had World Cup qualifiers in between, but it was quite rushed, wasn't it, with the players coming out here, and they just played Sunday, Monday, and they had to get to Perth, set up and prepare. So we're expecting probably too much. We definitely didn't hit the ground running. We had a number of injury concerns at the start, and we had to get over that period where there was a little bit of change with the team after it had been selected, and it definitely impacted our first round performance. But on the other side, flip side of it, Perth broke the record crowd for Asia straight away in the first opening match, which was fantastic. And that was smashed by Sydney twice, obviously with the biggest stadium in Australia as well, helping at the end there with the final with over 74,000. So I think for the viewership and being an Asia Cup and having this tournament in Australia was a great host country. We just showed our strength again in obviously supporting this tournament as a whole. We're seeing lots of good fans out there from other countries as well, which is fantastic, which would have helped tourism and really showcase what Australia can do. And that was, we've got some difficulty with the scheduling. They were in March and they had some challenges, didn't they? They had the NRL and AFL all starting as well, which can't go unnoticed with crowd figures because cost of living these days is quite high. So I think to get those numbers in such difficult circumstances in March, maybe a reflection on the A-League as well to learn from that. Maybe it doesn't impact as much as what you think, even though it is an international tournament. But I think the Matildas, they slowly built into it. They were a bit tournament effective, weren't they, around it? I thought everyone was waiting for this football to probably start like Japan did, but I think Japan shows everyone how advanced they are on their strategy, like I said back in 2021. And I think this is why it's so important for us. Yes, we've got some big players at some big clubs and some great individuals and some great talent coming through, but you need the holistic approach, don't you, if you want to make it all work? And you can see how Japan seamlessly just got into this tournament and started kicking goals and going from strength to strength. And this is a side that, like I said, beat Spain in the World Cup group stage and beat America last year and has beaten us in the She Believe Cup, and they actually won that last year as well. So they're in hot form. And we can definitely learn a lot of lessons off the nation that's setting the pace. And they're going to be very difficult to beat in next year's World Cup. So, but I think Australia, once again, should be very proud of what they've produced as a host. They certainly put on a show, and just to finish it off last night, I thought was just fantastic. So overall, our football is improving. Yes, we look at it to see that some of these Matildas are on that back end of their career, and there's a lot coming through, but still think that back end still has plenty to say at the World Cup in the next 15 months.
Well said, mate. We have a question from one of our listeners. Bimbo Summit CFP wonders if Kerr leaves Chelsea, where should she go? And then, just get the Chelsea really seem like their beats lately, and I want her to somewhere that will get the best out of her and set her up well for Brazil. So, yeah, I suppose the first question is if she does leave Chelsea, or is Chelsea the right fit for her? It's hard to tell, I suppose, with her coming back from this injury, whether she's going to be first choice striker there anymore, or whether she should look at other options in preparation for Brazil next year. I'd say that her partner, her newborn, will want to stay in England, I would say. So maybe it's an option if it's not Chelsea of another WSL club.
Yeah, maybe. Like, she's American as well, so we've got to consider she'll have family back there as well. So it's a big decision for him now with a young child. So I guess I think for the Sam Kerr plan, it's where does she see herself in the next 1 to 5 years? I think that's important to acknowledge. Whether they want to settle might be their next destination. So it's a really good question. I don't not really concerned when you're at that age. I think wherever she goes, as long as she's playing some kind of competitive football, I think she'll be fine. We know the attributes. She's the GOAT of Australian women's football of all time, as far as I'm concerned, and has broke records from day one, from her debut. So I think as long as she's healthy and happy, you will get the best out of Sam Kerr. And I think she's still shown on the Asia Cup that she has a lot to offer. And yes, okay, maybe not be the full frontal, the running game that she had maybe 10 years ago, but she's definitely still a target. She's definitely got the ability, and it's how you manage that throughout tournaments that will get the best out of her.
Yeah, she certainly had a good tournament, particularly on the back of very limited game time. And yeah, there's balls in behind. She's still very dangerous. Still got the speed. So, and we saw in that, obviously in that semi-final, still got world-class finishing behind her as well. So, yeah, good point around her partner Chris Muse being American. So, yeah, couldn't end up in the NWSL. But competitive football, I agree with you, is the key for Sam Kerr to keep going and still be prolific for the Matildas as well. Just want to also mention that on the morning of the final on Sunday, Football Australia made an announcement. Just grabbed one little part from it, but which kind of summarises the point I wanted to make. But Football Australia, Football New South Wales, and Northern New South Wales Football are calling on the New South Wales government to establish a New South Wales AFC Women's Asian Cup Australia 2026 Legacy Fund consisting of annual grant rounds of up to 34 million. Over 10 years commencing after the tournament, the fund would be administered by the New South Wales Office of Sport in collaboration with Football New South Wales and Northern New South Wales Football. So some of the other parts of the announcement point to the fact that the grassroots participation, particularly in New South Wales, are going through the roof and the facilities can't keep up with them at the moment. So this funding one of those key parts of the funding would be the facilities for young female footballers playing the game, and even older female footballers who have found their love of football at an older age as well, but making sure that they have the facilities to keep them engaged in the game and keep them loving what they're doing. So I think that's a fantastic initiative from Football Australia, but I just wanted to point out the fact that Football Australia, Football New South Wales, and Northern New South Wales Football are going in as a joint commitment to get this funding, or to get this legacy fund up and going. And it's so key, because we've seen so many times in the past, it might be the APL pitching, or it might be Football Australia, it might be an individual state federation pitching, but the fact that they're all on the same board, and I think it creates such a stronger case when we go to government at any level to try and get funding for the game. Oh, I wanted to touch on that point you made around the 2010, because they were showing some old clips of the 2010 final, and it was playing on an absolutely horrible pitch. And Elise Kellen Knight, I think it was, on the commentary panel, was remarking about the game, and she said it was played in front of about 300 people over in China. So it just shows you how far women's football has come in Australia, but women's football generally, and it's absolutely fantastic to see that growth in the past 16 years. All right, let's leave the Matildas chat there. Well done to the Matildas for a fantastic tournament. Real shame that for the players, particularly that they couldn't get over the line and get that silverware that they probably deserve through their tenure and through their persistence over very many years. But yeah, onwards and upwards. Got a big World Cup to prepare for now next year. Right, let's go overseas, Mopper. Starting in Austria this week, because what a way to celebrate a Socceroos recall as Jacob Italiano lights up Europe with a hat-trick in the relegation round. What a great performance and night for the Socceroo.
Oh, so well deserved. Like, what a performance. He must have been buzzing being back in the Socceroos after his injury. He's been back a few weeks now, but wow, he just took it by storm, didn't he? And not just simple goals, mate. They were smashing goals, and the team even gave him the penalty shot so he could get his hat trick. Well, what a moment that'll go down in his history. He'll remember this one for a long time.
Yeah, what strikes they were like they're both kind of very similar. One on the half volley and one on the volley. The defensive clearance has come out to him and he just whacked it first time. Keeper had no chance on either occasion. So if you haven't seen it, we reposted some of the videos on X, so you check them out. But amazing to see, and then even the composure for the penalty, little skip step and sends the keeper the wrong way, and yeah, so cool. He's been playing in a bit more of an advanced role for Grazer, but seems going to be perfectly suited to that right wing back for the Socceroos with Lewis Miller's injury. So yeah, exciting times for Jacob Italiano. I think his Grazer AK are not doing too badly. They had a shocking start to the season, but I think they'll end up being okay and staying in the Austrian top flight, which would be really important for Jacob Italiano. Or who knows, if he keeps up this form, he might be even pushing for a move in the off-season, particularly on the back of a good World Cup performance.
Yeah, I still remember that beautiful interview when he got his first cap for Canada. Yeah, and uh, how much it meant to him, and I think that confidence of Popper going back and after his injury and saying, "Yep, back in." He had a great game against America, and he's gone bang, and he's just gone, "Yep, this is my time." And when you got the confidence, he's just taken it, and this is great news. I can't wait to get him out and see in Australia and see him continue to build for the Socceroos. It's great news for the lads.
Remember in that window too, he was only brought in as a injury replacement for Frank Karacic, I think it
Yeah.
was. So
Yep.
he's brought in and obviously trained the house down and straight into the starting lineup. So yeah, going from strength to strength, Jacob Italiano. Let's go over to England, mate. Do you want to wrap us through the championship?
Yeah, Middlesbrough again. It's like tic-tac-toe with Ipswich, second and third place. Middlesbrough this time dropped more points in their 0-0 draw with Blackburn, with Riley McGree playing 90 minutes. They are just 2 points ahead of Ipswich, who have a game in hand. I will note that Ipswich and Borough do play each other, though, on the 19th of April, and this one could probably be the decider for automatic promotion, even though they've got a few games before and after, but that might fall down to the big game that looking ahead. Let's move over to Derby, and we know Callum Elder is obviously recovering from knee surgery, but Derby kept pace with the playoff contenders with a 1-0 win over Birmingham City, and only now 3 points behind sixth place in an amazing story, Derby. I said a few weeks ago that they had very faint hopes, and yes, they just keep rolling on. So let's hope Callum Elder gets back, and there's something at the end of the tunnel at the end of the season. QPR, well, geez, Portsmouth woes have just gotten from bad to worse, and QPR recorded a big 6-1 win over them. And Daniel Benny got 7 minutes off the bench. Keely Adamson, again, an unused substitute. And we want to note that Jalen Pearman obviously scored a hat-trick too in the under-21s during the week, looking very sharp and in great form. So good hit out for Jalen. Let's go over to our other Socceroo, Nestor Irukunda. They drew 0-0 with Leicester, Watford, and Irakunda played 90 minutes for the first time in almost a month, which is fantastic build-up for him. Leicester's been struggling with relegation, so Watford couldn't take advantage, but it's a surprise, obviously, with Leicester's loss of points that they're down the bottom, but unfortunately for Watford, they couldn't capitalise. And then Mr. Consistent Cam Burgess played 90 minutes for Swansea, but they're hammered 3-0 by league leaders Coventry. Well, they've done that to a lot of teams. So Swansea's still in a secure position, but Coventry just march on to the title. All right, mate. League One, what do you got as we drop down a level?
Cardiff completely dominate Blackpool, but can't find a breakthrough, drawing 0-0. Alex Robertson plays 61 minutes, and they remain second. They're 11 points clear of third with 7 games to go. So getting there closer and closer, but it's been a bit of a stutter for the past couple of games for Cardiff. Plymouth, they continue their push for the playoffs. They got a 3-1 win over Huddersfield. And now it is 1 point outside of those playoff places. Caleb Watts unfortunately missed his one. He was close to playing, but was kept out through injury. But he has been in good form before this little setback. Another clean sheet for Joe Gauchi. His 4th in 6 games as Port Vale beat Bolton 1-0. Probably definitely left it too little too late for Port Vale, but they continue to pick up results. And of course, they've got that big quarterfinal against Chelsea in the FA Cup coming up after the international break. 90 minutes for Rafael Borges Rodriguez in Wigan's 2-0 relegation, 6-pointer win against Exeter City. So important win for Wigan on this occasion. And I just wanted to shout out James Holland. Of course, he's in the setup for Crystal Palace, and they advance to the Europa Conference League quarterfinals with a result on Friday morning. Be very interesting, Mopper, to see what happens there with James Holland, because Oliver Glasner looks almost certain to leave in the off-season with all the turmoil going on at Crystal Palace. But we'll see, I suppose, whether James Holland stays or whether he ends up being part of Oliver Glasner's coaching staff.
Or maybe have an opportunity somewhere else. There's plenty of job opportunities, no doubt, at the end of this season. So maybe he's ready to step up. We know that coaches normally bring their whole staff with them when they move on, and some obviously coming in don't keep many around either. So that's a very interesting time. But I think let's just cheer on Crystal Palace in the Conference League, and hopefully we have another Aussie coach fighting for a trophy in Europe. We've certainly had many moments last year and this year in regards to coaches, and especially emerging coaches in assistant manager roles, really take their opportunities. So great to see another prospect. I know we're talking about Mark Milligan, but maybe we've got one in the Premier League already. And does Crystal Palace self-promote? You just never know how much respect he's getting behind the scenes. So, yeah, great watch that one. Very exciting. All right, mate, we turn our attention to Scotland. We love the Scotland Premier League with lots of Aussies showing. And guess who's back, Chief? Cam Devlin returns for Hearts and is straight into the starting lineup as Hearts pick up a vital 1-0 win over Dundee FC. The win keeps them 3 points clear of Rangers in second, who beat Aberdeen overnight with no Aussies featuring in the matchday squad for Aberdeen. Celtic play tonight against Dundee United away, so that'll be a tough one. Dundee United are renowned for draws, so we're hoping another draw is on the plate tonight, and hopefully you can keep that little bit of distance between Celtic, as we're getting awfully close. Only a couple of games left now before they split and decide this title in the when they all play each other once. So they're exciting times coming up in Scotland after the international break. Let's go down to the other side of the table where Ant Suto and Martin Boyle, both in the Socceroos squad, start up top for Hibs, and they play 68 and 67 minutes respectively as they draw 0-0 with Motherwell, who's been in great form but just had that little dip, but they're still getting good results. And Jack Idale is an unused substitute in this one, which is quite interesting. He started nearly every game. And while for Motherwell, Oscar Priestman obviously starts and plays 66 minutes. So it's great to see Oscar starting again for Motherwell. But Motherwell, unfortunately, has dropped pace with the front runners with no wins in their past 3 games, but will definitely be in that top 6. Just probably deciding who wins the title when they play the top 6 in a couple of weeks' time.
All right, mate, over to Italy. 60 minutes for Alessandro Ciccardi as his Parma lose 2-0 to relegation battlers Cremonese. Parma are 7 points clear of relegation, though, in 12th spot. So looking pretty good for survival for Ciccardi's team. This was very pleasing for me to see. Annalise Rasmussen gets her first matchday appearance for
Yeah,
Juventus
excellent.
as an unused substitute in a 0-0 draw with Genoa. Maybe they should have brought her on to break the drought. But yeah, she's had to bide her time
Won't
there
be
since
long.
she moved. No, yeah, she's had to be patient since she moved across from the Mariners. But fantastic to see her appearing in the matchday squad for that massive club. Juventus over in Spain, relegation battle continues for Levante with a very important win 4-2 over the last place Real Oviedo. Matt Ryan, full game in goals, couldn't save a penalty as he conceded 2 goals in 2 minutes, but his team were well on top and are 2 points off safety with Elche also winning and Alaves play tonight. What could have been, mate, those past couple of weeks when they dropped those points, they'd be out and clear by now, but okay, Sarah, we go on.
That's it. And over in Netherlands, Eredivisie, there's some more relegation battles, and Heracles pick up a point with a 1-1 draw against Excelsior, who are the team they are chasing to avoid relegation. So they remain now 8 points clear of safety. That was probably a must-win game as Aiden Hrustic played a full game and Reece Bozanovsky played 72 minutes, but unfortunately could not get the win. And Nac Breda got off to a shocking start, 2-0 down at half time. Hopes of survival diminish as Max Ballard starting and playing 87 minutes. They did get one back in the second half, 2-1. They had all the chances. They couldn't convert in what was a must-win game. They have 6 games, Chief, to save their season. There is still hope with the above teams also struggling, but they don't face any of those bottom half teams. Most of the teams they play are in the upper tier of the Eredivisie. So still close enough, if good enough, but they've got a tough draw to finish off. Also, down the division in Eredivisie, Roda JC draw 1-1 with Helmand Sport and remain in the last playoff spot. Josh Nisbet played another full game and in great form. Over in Croatia, we had 17 minutes off the bench for Anthony Kalic and Hadžić Split's big 6-0 win over Vukov 91. Czech Republic seeing Goran Kole's Sparta Prague knocked out of the Europa Conference League, losing 4-0 to AZ Alkmaar in the second leg, and a 6-1 on aggregate as Cole only got 9 minutes off the bench in this one. And before we go to America, we've got one more in Europe. We're in Switzerland, 13 minutes off the bench for Liam Chipperfield's in Sion's 1-1 draw with St. Gallen. All right, mate, let's go over to the States. MLS time. And what a story we have with our one young up-and-coming that we've been talking about for a little while now.
Yeah, we mentioned in the last couple of pods, Archie Goodwin and his limited amount of game time at Charlotte. Well, he did get some limited game time today, but he didn't need much to make an impact. I mean, he got his first and second Charlotte FC goals as they smashed New York Red Bulls 6-1. The 21-year-old just got the 15 minutes off the bench, but made no mistake with his opportunity. And I saw a couple of post-match videos of him, mate. Absolutely thrilled. Couldn't wipe the smile off his face. Didn't see the second of the goals, but the one I did see, his header, fantastic strike. And you just see, as you've mentioned before, the caliber he's playing around. And then the next, on their X account, the next video was Wilf Zaha just banging one into the far post. So, yeah, definitely playing with some top players there at Charlotte FC. Big win for him, but I'm so thrilled for Archie Goodwin to be on the score sheet. And it'll do his confidence the world of good. And even saw in one of those videos, one of his teammates putting his arm around him and saying how much he deserved it. So clearly he's putting in on and off the field over there at Charlotte, and to get his reward was fantastic today.
Yeah, oh, such a great story to wake up to, eh? 15 minutes, 2 goals. Thank you very much. Please start me next week. Oh, well, we'll have to watch this space for young Archie Goodwin. But some great results in America. The Aussies are doing well over there, mate.
Yep, Paddy Yazbek played 68 minutes in Nashville's big win over Orlando 5-0. Nashville remain undefeated at the top of the table. New York City FC do have a game in hand over them, but performing very well. Nashville and Patrick Yazbek. Clean sheet and a full game for Kye Rowles, who did miss out on that Socceroos squad. as his DC United draw 0-0 with Atlanta United. Looks like they've shored up their defence a little bit more this season, Mopper, which is great for Kye Rowles. And then also 90 minutes and another game where he's the most accurate passer. Geez, that's a strength in his game, isn't it? Lucas Harrington celebrates his Socceroos call-up with a 4-1 win for his Colorado over Sporting Kansas City. So fantastic. All the boys in the MLS have had a good weekend.
I've got a question for you. Will Harrington get some game time in these two matches?
I think he will.
Oh,
I
okay.
think he will. I wouldn't be shocked if he starts. I expect him to get time for the bench, but we've seen it before with Popper, throwing in Kye Rowles, throwing in Hayden Matthews. I don't think he's afraid. So, yeah, I hope he comes out here and trains well and puts himself right in the mix.
All right. And we've got an interesting quote and headline on Oz Football HQ.
Yeah, this one came out this morning. I'm not sure exactly where the quote has come from, but I anticipate it's some kind of pre-match press conference. But this was reportedly from Christian Volpato. I spoke to the coach, in brackets Popovic. They've been wanting to call me to Australia for a few years, but I grew up watching the Azzurri, even the coach, and I'm waiting for Italy. Then we'll see how the rest goes. Now, this is going to put plenty of Australian football fans' noses out of joint, this statement, after he obviously wasn't included in the Socceroos squad. But look, if this doesn't tell us that he's clearly not interested in playing for Australia, or if he is, it's a backup plan if he doesn't get called into the Italy squad, I don't know what is. Can we just stop dealing with Christian Volpato? Can we just let it go? Is he that good that we need to keep chasing him and keep being so desperate about him? He clearly does not want to play for Australia. And as I said, if the only way that he's thinking about it is if he gets to a point in his career and he's not going to get caught up by Italy, and we're some kind of backup plan for him, and some kind of second job or something. Like, let's just can we just forget him? Like, there's so much young talent that is desperate to play for this country. We just got to let it go.
Yeah, look, Popovic made some strong statements in regards to the shirt, obviously, with Segicic last week, prompting him to get on his own front foot and the way he's managing it. So, yeah, it's a little bit contradicting Popper, but look, he's made his statement. It's true in what Popper's words said with the shirt and vice versa. And, yeah, this one probably getting too much noise than what it should. We do wish Volpato all the best, and we wish him all the best in a career. And he's had some opportunity here, and he's gone over there, and he's shown where his passion lies. And let's just support him in that, and let's move forward in our own journey, like you said. And yeah, stop probably wasting crucial time on players. But I guess Popovic had to sound him out, and he has. And it's just time to move forward from that, especially in regards to his comments around should I be firing players up with a shirt and vice versa. So let's just move forward. And like you said, Archie Goodwin just got a double in 15 minutes, and look for other talents that we have that are just raring for an opportunity. All right, mate.
I've got nothing against Volpato personally. Like, he's clearly saying that he wants to play for Italy. So it's more about what we're doing as a country and what we're doing as a governing body of Football Australia or the Socceroos coaching staff, and continually chasing him. Read it. Like, he doesn't want to play for us. Like let's focus on the great talent that we've got. Let's just let him go. If in 8 years' time some kind of reason it happens, fine. But let's focus on all the great talent that we've got that wants to play for Australia at the moment.
Yeah, and I think you've spoken for every Australian football fan, or the majority of them anyway, in their belief in what your comments said, mate. And we totally agree and completely with you. And absolutely, we should just move forward. Like, I think it's got way too much headline than probably what it should. So, like you said, there's some great talent out here, and let's promote it and use it. And yeah, keep pushing on. So well said, mate. And yeah, there's a lot. We're talking a lot about Australian football. We're back in A-League, mate, and do you want to kick off? The race for the Premier's plate is on, and one of the sides got an advantage this week.
Yeah, how good is this? Going right down to the wire, the race for the Premier's plate. We know that the top two teams are facing the same 5 opposition on the run in, and already we've seen a bit of a shock result, which has propelled one of them forward. So yeah, on Saturday afternoon, Macarthur beat Auckland 2-1, and 24th of January was the last time Macarthur had victory in the A-League after 2 draws and 4 losses in their last 6 A-League games. They didn't have much possession overall, but a powerful first half was enough, and they were more effective with the ball going forward, with goals to Rafael Duran in the 11th minute and Tommy Utzkock in the 44th minute to give them a 2-0 lead, and Auckland only managed a goal late in the 93rd minute through defender Jake Gerwood-Reich. This loss dents Auckland's title hopes and the Jets' upper hand with a great opportunity, whilst Macarthur moved back into the top 6. Mate, I don't know where this result came from. Macarthur were absolutely nowhere. We knew that they had to face Auckland and the Jets in their next 2 games. I thought they were going to run into 6 losses in a row. Auckland at home with the Premier's play in sight, and obviously on the back of that victory over the Jets last week, I thought they were good things for this one.
Well, mate, they were up there just before Asian Champions League, before that run of six games without a win, almost challenging for the title. So the question is, shock win or a Macarthur back, Chief?
I think we'll only know that answer after they play the Jets next weekend and see what kind of performance they put up. We have seen teams go to Auckland this season and get results, which didn't happen very often last season. But yeah,
Yep.
MacArthur has gone and done a job there on them. And look, it's a huge dent to Auckland's title chances, because as we move on to the other team, obviously in the Premier's plate, the Jets had a big result over Sydney FC this afternoon.
Yes, well, we've just decided the red corner. They just took a knockout punch, and now we go over to the blue corner. The title favourites now, the Jets, as they beat 2-1. Ding, ding, let's get ready to rumble. After Auckland's loss, the Jets had the chance to extend their lead, and they didn't disappoint. And they're now clear at the top. Sydney FC started with a back 5, interesting, with Tale seeing an opportunity to thwart Newcastle's attack, who were without Clayton Taylor and Eli Adams, which I think makes this win even more impressive. Both teams had a bright start with chances at both ends, but it was Kaito Mizuma who got the Jets away when he was found by a beautiful Max Burgess through ball and volleyed it in from the edge of the box. It was a great start to Newcastle, but Sydney FC, to their credit, applied plenty of pressure, but didn't force Jets keeper James Zelenov into too many saves. And at half-time, Jets went in 1-0. So Sydney FC reacted. They brought on Quintal and Tassard at the break. The young Socceroo provided plenty of energy off the bench, which he always does when he starts or off the bench. And he also provided the breakthrough when he was slid in by Crisepi. Quick feet Crisepi showed some quick feet again before finishing. And Sydney FC, well, they looked like they were going to have the chance to take the lead via penalty, but it was ruled out for offside in the lead-up. So 1-1 we remain. Minutes later, Ben Gibson had the ball in the back of the net, but was also ruled offside. Then in stoppage time, 2 of the Jets substitutes combined with Mopper's X-Factor, Bernicello, who I'm a big fan of. That's why I call him the X Factor. Burst past Alex Grant, squared the ball for Ben Gibson, who fired it home, and that was it. 2-1 to the Jets. Sydney FC had one more chance, though, from an attacking free kick, and Ryan Grant did get the ball in the back of the net, but the Jets played a cheeky offside trap and caught Sydney FC out and take the points and take the lead by 4 points, and now have the upper hand with only a few games remaining.
Very, very entertaining game, Opper. Really end-to-end stuff. Sydney FC actually weren't too bad in this one. They actually took it up to the Jets, and as you said, they were missing a few players. I don't think they even had enough to put a full bench out there today. So massive win for the Jets to get this result. As I said, Sydney FC were good. They created plenty of chances, not really clinical enough. That penalty was pretty dubious. Whether it was going to be given anyway, it was a bit of a soft one when Patrick Foord went over James Italiano, and then Yeah, so Ben Gibson, ball in the back of net, offside. And then, yeah, the X Factor got it over to him again, and he put the ball away. But that offside trap in pretty much the last kick of the game, unbelievable. The Jets had a line and they all ran up just before the ball was kicked and caught Sydney FC offside. But could have been really one of those ones when they had egg on their face, but they performed it. The execution was absolutely perfection. But to do it in those circumstances in the last minute of the game, very, very ballsy, I thought. But yeah, the Jets open up a 4-point gap now from the Premier's plate, and Sydney FC were one of those ones closing in on them as well, because obviously Auckland can't take the ACL elite spot anyway. So massive advantage for the Newcastle Jets for many reasons in this one.
Yeah, it just goes to show why they've only drawn one game, isn't it? It's win or lose for the Jets, isn't it? So yeah, great bit of talent there shown by either the coaching staff or playing group combined. Great to see the Jets still leading the way in this Premier's plate. Still plenty of football to go though. All right, mate. Let's go to Adelaide beating the Wanderers. Talk us through the 4-2 win for Adelaide.
Yeah, very much headlined by Luka Jovanovic double. I mean, this one really putting the Wanderers to the sword. Jovanovic's first was on the back of a Dylan Cicluna mistake, which he pounced on and rocketed the ball home. His second was teed up by who else but Johnny Yole, and he showed some quick feet to open up the space and score. But what a talent this guy is. That's now 9 goals for the season, but we've seen him for the young Socceroos. We've seen him for Adelaide United. Not going to be shocked if it's the last season we see him in the A-League, but he's got a very bright future ahead of him, hasn't he, mate?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I think he's only one behind Sam Cosgrove. Is that right? But leading the Golden Boot, 10-9. So, look, we've seen the talents that he's possessed at the Australian under-20 level. So, and he's got his opportunity at under-23. So, very highly thought of. And yeah, he just keeps getting better and better. I hope he stays in the A-League one more year. Players have got to stay and play. Let's hope like Jovanovic makes at least the right move. But sensational year he's had, and what a year Adelaide's had. We wouldn't have thought with everything that's happened and who they've lost. They're just again back youth, back to coach in their system, and they're bearing all fruits. And they were up to third at one stage, but obviously victory overtook that, and now they're fourth, but still well within a great position for this A-League run-in. So fantastic job.
Yep, Adelaide's other goals came through a scuffed Juan Muniz shot just before half-time, and a late sealer from Panagiotis Kikianis. His strike from close range. Ethan Alagic and Johnny Yole were fantastic for the Reds in this one. On the other side of the coin for the Wanderers, their season can't end soon enough. I saw a comment from a Wanderers fan on their post after the game saying 4 more games to go. They can't wait. Their goals were from Alex Gersbach and a very nice volley from Angus Sturgay. Gary Van Egmond had a lot to say about his team's performance and the club as a whole in the post-match press conference. I think the original question was something like, unfortunate result for your team tonight, Gary. And he quickly cut that off and he said, no, it wasn't unfortunate. We didn't want it anywhere near as much as Adelaide United, and that's why we lost. That's the first thing you need to do. Skills and talent will get you far, but you need the effort and the output first. So definitely wasn't happy with his team's performance, and then went on a bit of a rant, but a fair enough rant, I think, about the Wanderers and coaching, and I think he was probably asked about Tale coming in next season, and he just mentioned that the club needs to be consistent, and mentioned Ajax in terms of the way that they approach their coach. They have a style, they have a philosophy in their club, and they pick their coaches accordingly. They don't just pick the coaches that are available, the best coach out there. It's really about a coach that suits their style. And he was pretty adamant with the fact that that's what the Wanderers need to do. They need to start having a philosophy and a style, and picking coaches accordingly. And that goes from A-League level to NPL, and then right down into the academy as well. So very interesting comments from Van Egmond post game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really love listening to the philosophy about all the way through your youth systems to create this brand, and it's so true about Ajax. Yeah, and Barcelona is another example. They just they just pick the coach that's going to suit their system and their academy. And you know, you've seen the fruits that these systems bear. They're not heavy reliant on finance. They're heavy reliant on developing, which obviously builds more capability within your club. So I really like the words that he used. And I'll tell you what, if there's an award at the end of the season, the A-League for Academy Awards of press conferences, Western Sydney have got gold, silver and bronze because they have totally cleaned up that one this year with some of the greatest press conferences from Stagix, now Van Egmont. They'll be very hard to top of the awards night.
Adam Griffiths might have something to say about that one, though, mate.
Oh, it's
He's
very
he's
true.
pulled out the pearlers, the lion and the goat, and the
Yes, that's it.
oh, mate.
He can pick up a bronze medal for that one. All right, let's keep moving on the A-League. We can have a little bit of a laugh, but Wellington beat Brisbane. Well, what about the Knicks? 2 wins and a draw now, and the latest win gives them hope of an unlikely playoff spot. But the challenge remains with 3 out of their 4 games away, Chief, from home to finish, and they play the red-hot Victory next, and then City. So they've got a double in Melbourne, and that could decide their late rise in the season. So on the other side, though, let's look at Brisbane. They're slumped to the 10th, and looks like any hope is gone. Their form reads no wins since January 16th, 5 losses and 3 draws in their last 8. Not good reading. In the game, McGree opened the scoring in the 14th minute with a corner and a horror show for the Knicks keeper and defenders. It was really poor if they let one slip in at near post there from a corner. Before a set piece of the Knicks of their own, seeing some redemption with Corbin Piper nodding home. And then late on, Mr. Cool Eze scored a beautiful finish, set up by Luke Brooksmith, and they claimed all the points. 2-1. There was a little bit of controversy, as there always is in our games. A late penalty shout was denied by Brisbane, upsetting the bench. Well, it wouldn't take much to upset that bench, especially being down 2-1. Well, that's true. And the question now remains, don't worry about the controversy. The question remains, Chief, can the Knicks do the impossible and make it with that tough finish that they have?
Well, how can you write off anything in this league? Can I just mention if Corbin Piper's nickname's not the Salmon, I'm not here. His ability to get up in the air is unbelievable. Can the Knicks do it? Of course they can. The results go everywhere in this league, and anything could possibly happen. But yeah, credit to Chris Greenacre, what he's done with this team, and they could pull off some shock results away from home for sure. They probably need a few other results to go their way as well, but they're definitely in the mix, and you wouldn't have thought that after that big 5-0 thumping in the New Zealand derby a few weeks back.
Well, up next for them is the Victory Marta-led Globetrotters, and they beat the Mariners 4-1. Talk us through what was a very exciting, pulsating game.
This was a massive game, actually, because just before this, MacArthur jumped the Mariners in the 6th spot. But the Mariners obviously had that 6th spot for a while, and with a win, they could have put a bit of a gap on some teams. But a big loss to Victory 4-1, and now all of a sudden there's some teams that have caught up and in and around them. And I think this catch-up game against Melbourne City in a couple of weeks' time is going to be absolutely huge. But the whole A-League was watching this one as the star of the day. Mariners held the converted 6th spot and final spot with a game in hand, unbeaten in 8. Last loss way back on January 10. Jumped out of the blocks to get 1-0 through Sabit Noor. Yeah, fantastic play from Nathaniel Blair before this. He was very dangerous. His first start, I think they said 4 years for Nathaniel Blair, but very dangerous, particularly with those balls over the top with his speed, causing the Victory defence all kinds of trouble. But then the Spanish maestro, Juan Mata, soon revved up the troops, and they can thank Seb Esposito for clearing Sabit Noor, likely second goal. And from this moment, the tide changed with Victory warning to the task and created plenty of good moments. But the Mariners defended defiantly. Second half started with the Mariners still up 1-0, and it was the Socceroo Valupale who was beaming with his selection, equalising in the 50th minute. And then the two main men, Mata and Valupale, turned it on, and Mata headed in off a wicked shot. That's got to be a collector's item. One Mata header for Valupale's shot that was originally saved by Andrew Redmayne. Burgos added the third with a great solo run, and then Jason Davidson, talking about collector's items, finished for the fourth in a highly entertaining contest. So with the win, Victory push up to third, and we'll wait on the Jets, obviously, now that they've played to see if they're a late hope for the title. But I'd say with the Jets winning today, that's probably a bit far out of reach, but they can certainly put some pressure on Auckland for the top two in the run home. Mariners slip to seventh, but have the all-important game in hand against City and have Perth at home next before the makeup game against City, as we mentioned before. And then they've got Raw at home before the toughest finish of all, playing the top two to finish. So, yeah, very tough run in for the Mariners. Look, it's a credit to them. They've put themselves right in the mix. Credit to Warren Moon and his team. Maybe it's a bit too far for them to achieve this top six with their run in. They might have gone a little bit too early, but yeah, question of where the teams are going to finish. Well, look, I think Victory are so dangerous on their day. They could do absolutely anything. It really just depends on what mood that we've seen them batter teams but not be able to score. We've seen them put 4 and 5 past teams at different times this season. I definitely think coming into the finals, I think they will finish third or fourth, so they'll secure a home final for those elimination finals in the first week. But I just can't see them jumping into the top two from here. And the Mariners, I just get a sense now that they're going to slip away a little bit and miss the finals, maybe finishing about eighth or ninth, I would say. I think the Mariners got a bit too deep too early after that early goal as well, and it's something that Warren Moon was critical of his team against Adelaide United the week before as well. So it was certainly on his mind, but it's hard not to get deep with so much class in that Melbourne Victory team. And but I think that was their undoing, and they just couldn't deal with the waves and waves of pressure. But look, they'll hang in there. They're very plucky, and yeah, don't write them off just yet. They'll probably be in and around that mix, and they probably just have to cause a few upsets if they are to make the finals. But let's quickly look at the ladder. The Jets out in front on 43, Auckland on 39, Victory 4 points back on 35, as are Adelaide in fourth. Sydney FC with today's loss, they're down to fifth in 30 on 33 points. That's probably the top five, and then the big congestion for that sixth spot. MacArthur on 28, the Mariners with a game in hand on 27, Wellington on 27, Melbourne City on 26 with a game in hand as well. And there's just been a match going as we've been recording. Melbourne City were looking good, which would have put them into the top six, but a late Adam Taggart goal has got Perth a 1-1 draw, which keeps Melbourne City in ninth. Big result. From what I could see, though, Perth were wave after wave of attack. So it looked like the goal was coming, and it's not like Melbourne City were fully deserved of their win. So, yeah, but Perth putting on a show for their home fans, even though their season's more than likely done. But yeah, as I said, massive drop points there for Melbourne City. Let's go to the A-League Women's back in action. Not many rounds to go in this one. Only 3, I think, after this round. So yeah, crucial results. And as we go into the back end of the season, let's start on Friday night. 2 games kicking us off were Sydney FC as they hosted Wellington Phoenix, and Sydney FC took the lead through Kaylee Talon-Henniker before Pia Vlock got one back for the Wellington Phoenix just 9 minutes later. So 1-1 after 12 minutes. And then into the second half, Wellington Phoenix took the lead through Marissa Van der Meer, 2-1 to the Knicks. And then Brooke Nunn finished things off with a 3-1 result. So that one moves Wellington Phoenix up to second on the ladder and Sydney FC down to last. Yes, again, season can't end soon enough. On the other game of Friday night, Brisbane Roar 4-2 win over the Newcastle Jets. This one was headlined by a Daisy Brown hat-trick, and the other goal for the Brisbane Roar came from Benti Jensen. For the Newcastle Jets, Natasha Pryor got a consolation, as did Sophie Hoban. So that one moves Brisbane Roar into 6th into the last playoff spots, and the Newcastle Jets remain in 9th for that one. The game on Saturday, 0-0 draw between Perth Glory and the Central Coast Mariners. Big performance in the goal for Central Coast Mariners, with Annalie Grove making 5 saves for her clean sheet. So well done to Annalie Grove in that one. So the defending champion Mariners sitting 8th on 23 points, 2 points behind Brisbane Roar, and Perth Glory just in front of them on 24 points, obviously 1 point out of the playoff spots. And Sunday's games, Canberra United, 3-2 win over Adelaide United, who had been absolutely flying recently. This one, Bethany Gordon opened the scoring before Sarah Morgan equalised, 1-1 at half-time. A Matilda McNamara own goal put Canberra back in front 2-1, and then they extended their lead to 3-1 through a goal through Emma Hawkins. And then Sian Dewey got one back for Adelaide United, but too late. Both those teams sit in 3rd and 4th on 30 points. So chasing Melbourne City and Wellington Phoenix, but not too far behind. And then the last game to round out this round of fixtures was a 2-1 win for Melbourne City over the Western Sydney Wanderers. City overcame an early red card to Chinaza Uchendu before Letitia McKenna scored 7 minutes later, and Briley Henry had them 2-0 up at half-time. And then Talia Eunice got one back for the Wanderers, but they weren't able to come over the top and pick up any points in this one. So Melbourne City do remain top of the league. As you said, Mopper, they've played 2 more games than Wellington Phoenix, but if the Knicks can win both of those, they will overtake Melbourne City on goal difference. So plenty happening in the A-League women's competition, mate. All right, mate, let's go to our team of the week. Annalie Grove, for her performance for the Mariners in goal, gets the spot between the sticks. Jacob Italiano, obviously fantastic performance, and his hat-trick gets a spot in the back line, as does Jake Gerberdreich and Panagiotis Kikianis. The midfield, Max Burgess, was outstanding today. Geez, he would have loved that one against his former team and being frozen out last year. He would have really enjoyed that one. Kyra Cooney-Cross for her performances in the semi-final and final. What a great way for her to have those starts and have such an influence for the Matildas. Cam Pupion got promoted to the Eredivisie with his ADO Den Haag during the week. Ethan Allegage, fantastic in Adelaide United midfield on Friday night. And what about this dynamic frontline, mate? Archie Goodwin double, Luka Jovanovic double, and Daisy Brown for her hat-trick. Plenty of goals in that front line. That's going to do us for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Yeah, our wishes out to the Matildas. Hold your heads high. You did Australia very proud throughout the whole tournament, and go back to your clubs and do well and know that you represented Australia so well, and well done to all our Australians performing so well, either at home or overseas throughout the week. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for your time, Mopper. We'll be back midweek to record a special episode. In the meantime, enjoy your football.